So it's been a tumultuous couple of days, hasn't it? We're all glowing in the warm aftermath of a promotion campaign, looking forward to next season. The manager's doing interviews talking about players he'd like to bring in and squad depth and this and other. And within 24 hours, it's all turned upside down, on its head. We're suddenly managerless and there's loads of questions that everybody wants answering. Players are back in, 10 days for pre-season, and we're staring into the abyss. We want answers. Now, as a massive slice of luck, there was a fans forum penciled in for this week. Fantastic. On the face of it. But really, I don't think there's anything to be gained from them. We never really learn anything from them. We break them apart in microscopic pieces and try and get clues, but you never really get straight answers from these things. I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like when you're at work and the staff survey comes out and they all get sent in and they collate the evidence and then they come back and they say, results of the staff survey. You've said you want to be kept in the loop more by your managers and that's what we're going to do. But they're not really. They're just playing the game, aren't they? They're ticking a box. We care. We cared about our staff, or we cared about our customers. So what they'll do, they might have a staff meeting once a month, a placatory thing. We're giving you the information that you've asked for. But you don't really. Well done to Sophie and Bob in HR. They've welcomed a little baby, Lily May. Great. Oh, Helen in finance. She's running for charity. At the weekend, she's doing a Dirty Mudder event. You're like, no. When we said we want information, what we mean is, why aren't our wages going up with minimum wage? Cost of living crisis. Where's the pension money? That's what people mean. But the firm's never going to tell you that, are they? So they just do these little exercises to make you think you're going to be in the loop and then just feed you a load of flannel about stuff you've got absolutely no interest in whatsoever. And talking a language that they don't particularly want you to understand anyway. And this is a similar sort of thing. So Chancery's had a fans forum. And what have we learnt from it? Well, apart from the fact he thinks the shirts are very cheap at 65 quid and they should probably be charging 75 quid because we've got to pay our way. Pay our way on top of some of the most expensive tickets in the country. For what's second division football and was last year third division football, to pay for players. Oh, that might be a bit of a sore subject actually, paying for players. Apparently that is the reason sources within the club have leaked that Darren Moore and Mr Chancery decided to part ways. And apparently they have parted ways on amicable terms. And that does happen from time to time. We want this, I want that. Well, we can't do it. Okay, see you later. That does happen. I'm gutted it's happened though. I wanted Darren Moore to stay. I liked the stability that he brought. I liked the fact that Wednesday weren't just flailing from one disaster to another. I like the fact we seem to have got a long-term plan and structure. But I mean, obviously we lost David Downs, now we've lost Darren Moore. And I've got to be fair to the chairman at this point, and I know that's a hard swallow. He's obviously wanting to do things now in a more sustainable way. Doing it in a sustainable way means he couldn't meet what Darren Moore wanted in the transfer market to be able to compete. It's like the worst of both worlds, isn't it? Because we've got a manager that I think 90% of people would have wanted to keep. The players definitely wanted to keep him. I'm sure Mr Chancery wanted to keep him, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But if they couldn't agree about the way they were going to go about the business and the sort of players they were going to be able to go after and the targets they were going to be able to go after, then this was always inevitable. And the problem is, if we'd gone out from day one of this entire experiment, and that's what it feels like, a dodgy experiment, if we'd gone out from day one and gone at it and tried to do it in a stabilised way, in a way that paid for itself, we wouldn't be in this mess now. And if we were only in half of this mess, we'd probably have enough to be able to keep Darren Moore. It swings and roundabouts, because at least by doing it this way and saying we want to be sustainable, we want to be able to things to pay for themselves, we don't want the club to be pulling this massive black hole of debt back in or whatever it is, especially if it's a debt to one man. But on the other hand, if you don't spend anything at this stage now, where do we go next season? Back to Division 3? How do you entice a decent manager in? Why did Darren Moore leave? You thought he'd done a great job. Well, he left because we couldn't really agree about transfers and who was going to come in and this sort of that. Why? Surely Wednesday can compete with middling teams in this division. The club apparently losing $500,000 and over fistule during lockdown, but so did how many other clubs in the country. And of course we lost out, and I heard it was nearly £7 million for every year we were in the third division. Hopefully that'll be improved slightly now we're back in the Championship. But what do we learn from these forums? Very little. Very little. And what we've got is a bloke who admitted he didn't know anything about football, who's eventually, I think, learning the hard way about football. He's learning that you can't just keep chucking money at it. You can't keep gambling. Sometimes you've got to have a strategy in place, you've got to have a plan in place, you've got to make sure things pay for themselves. But that means in terms of managerial spending or anything like that, it's going to be quite austere for whoever comes in. So what sort of managers will come into a club with nothing to spend? Well, Wednesday's still a big club. We've got a huge fan base, which has to be seen as a bonus. Up-and-coming managers that would oh yeah, that's a big club, I'll go there with out to spend and try and make a fist of it and make a name for myself. I think that's, or has-beens who's been out of the game and a lifeline to get my career back on track. I think they're sort of managers we'll be looking at. Maybe managers from overseas where the lower divisions over there aren't as well supported as the lower divisions are in England. You know, you can get clubs abroad who are getting 5,000 and 6,000, 7,000 in their top flight. A lot of clubs. Not like over here where you've got third division clubs pulling 10, 15, 20,000 in games. So maybe a manager from overseas somewhere. I just found the whole thing thoroughly depressing. The owner has finally learnt that you can't gamble at every opportunity. But in finally learning the lesson with that, it means we lost one of the best things that's happened to the club in years. Players, well, he's made some assurances to the fans. Assurances that can't be kept. You can't promise things in football. You can say you're going to attempt things in football, but you can't promise them. To say that we're going to have a 25-man squad by the time everybody gets... No. I can see us doing business even with a week to go before the season starts. There's been rumours today about Carlos coming back. Do you remember the £20 note and these things you don't know about this club, or one day I'll tell you? He weren't coming back, I don't think. Not with that. Not unless he swallowed that and signed some sort of gagging order. And the transfers. He said tonight, Mr. Chansiri, that we're going to crack on with these signings, whether we've got a manager or not. Now they say it's from these lists that Darren Moore's probably been part of the conversation. But what if a new manager comes in and he's not going to play 3-5-2? What if the players that Darren Moore's highlighted and the recruitment team have highlighted are players for a 3-5-2? Something as simple and basic as that. Now I know players can adapt and play different positions, but the entire thing's thoroughly depressing. Like I said, these fans forums on the face of it, a nice idea, but you never learn anything. And the only thing that actually comes from them, you've got a bloke there And be fair to him, coming out and facing it in his second language. But all that happens then is things get lost in translation, and they get lost in translation, and because fans are already in a mood and an atmosphere of what the bloody hell's happening at our club, and asking loads of questions already, when something gets slipped or lost in translation, it only creates more questions. What did he mean by that? What was that comment about? Just for an example, he's probably made some jokes in there to try and lighten the mood, because people do when it's uncomfortable. Have those jokes come across as jokes? Or have they come across as bullet-pointed oh, he says Barry Bannon's taking pre-season. Fucking marvellous, that's what we need. Things get lost. I don't really see the benefit of them. Like I said, by the time this video comes out, we may have a manager. We won't. It's just... talk about everything flipped in 24 hours. I mean, joint cricket, Wednesday's up. Darren Moore, I've heard 2 days before talking about players. The morning that Darren Moore goes, I'm reading about we're trying to get Reece James over the line. And 6 hours later, we ain't got a manager. And today we did lose to the Aussies, as I predicted. Where do you stand? Where can you get a lower league manager who's got a really good track record of promotion playing a 3-5-2? Is any of them knocking about around about here? No.